Good morning and welcome to Cheche, the show where opinion counts. We're live on Citizen TV and I'm your host, Uduak Amimo. Now, it's rare in Kenya to have a public official, the head of an arm of government, opt for early retirement, but the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Dr. Willie Mutunga, has done just that. He says he's completed the reforms he wanted to introduce to the judiciary, but has he? Well, Dr. Mutunga is our guest today. We also have the panel of David Makali and Mutegi Njau with us. Good morning and welcome to the show. You were shaking your head when I said that you had completed the reforms and that you wanted to introduce to the judiciary. Have you not?
No.
Okay.
No. We are just fighting corruption at the moment.
You're fighting corruption?
That's the beginning. We started in 2013, but that struggle still continues. That's why I was shaking my head.
Okay. At the start of the Judicial Transformation Program, you said that you wanted to reclaim the judiciary for the Kenyan public. Have you done that?
It's up to the Kenyan public to basically answer that question. In my view, we've tried as much as possible to build public confidence in the judiciary. But you have to realize that the judiciary is an institution within a society. All right? So what is difficult about transforming an institution in a society is when there is no political will to transform everything. So, you know, that becomes a challenge. But in terms of transformation, we've done what we call in the judiciary transformation from the margins. We've done, things that are doable.
Such as?
Such as giving tea to everybody in the judiciary. It never used to happen. Such as making sure that the promotions are done on merit, that everybody in the judiciary trains at the Judiciary Training Institute. And with the help of Salaries and the Remuneration Commission, we've tried very hard to equalize the disparities within terms and conditions of service. Everybody in the judiciary gets a loan to buy a car if they so wish.
Everybody means what? Including messengers?
Yes. The judicial staff, magistrates and judges, mortgages for housing, insurance for all. Okay, people forget that in 2011 there was a budget of 3 billion Kenya shillings. 43 judges collared that, 60% of it. So there are certain things that have been done. Associations by magistrates, by judicial.
So in terms of making the judiciary a more attractive place to work, attraction and retention, you think that's one of your successes?
Yeah, I would say so.
Anything else that you'd want to tout as one of your successes?
Well, I haven't talked about jurisprudence. You know, a lot of people say we haven't done much to develop a progressive jurisprudence under the Constitution, but my view is that it's being developed by the High Court and Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. I also know that we have come up with a lot of policy documents on finance, on human resource, and they want blueprints. And I think to run an institution you need to have also policy documents and so forth. Just like the blueprint we call the judiciary, transformation, framework. And then there's been a lot of when you talk about access to justice,
I was coming to that because that's one of the pillars of the transformation.
Yeah, as we speak now, we've about 100 construction sites, that are.
So that speaks to infrastructure.
That's infrastructure, yes. Yeah, we haven't done very well on ICT, but
Just for the sake of our viewers, the four pillars of your transformation program were access to justice, infrastructure, ICT, and I believe it was renovation or something?
No, the other one was transformative
leadership.
Yeah.
So let's talk about access to justice, because one of the complaints...
And maybe before we go there, let's talk about pensions. Can you talk about pensions for judges?
Yeah.
Do we have a pension scheme?
At the moment, what we have is judges' retirement benefits bill. That is with Parliament. I suspect that judges have pension. I don't know whether I have any pension myself or any retirement benefits. The last time I looked, there was a bill that went to Parliament. It was enacted, but the office of the CJ was deleted. So the Speaker has all those benefits and so forth, but not the office of the CJ. But that's something I can pursue when I retire.
Is that part of the reason why, if we look at transformational leadership, you have two judges on your bench who don't want to go home because they feel that their future might be uncertain?
Yeah. Because the pension scheme, then there will be no problem.
I don't want to talk about that case.
Right.
You know, the judgment will be delivered on the 11th. I might comment on it, and the perception might be totally wrong. Except to say, judges like other Kenyans have rights, so and they can agitate those rights in the court, right? Just like all of you.
Yeah, but
what does it say?
The Commission seems to have issued contradictory opinions or instructions on that matter regarding the general retirement time for a judge. Without discussing the merits, was there any contradictory views espoused by the JSC?
But we're going into the merits of that case, David.
No. I don't think it's the merits. It's whether actually there was such a circular issued, and if there were two circulars, I mean, the interpretation of which holds or which way to go lies with the court. But we're basically looking for the facts that are out there.
If you're looking for the facts, and not the interpretation, the JSC sought legal opinion from 3 lawyers about that issue.
Right.
And on the basis of that advice, there were 3 pieces of opinion: 2 for a retirement at 70,
right,
and 1 against. But under the Constitution, JSC had to decide.
Yes. And
decided on 70, right? Now, the JSC is like any other commission that interprets the Constitution, can be challenged.
And hence the cases.
And hence the cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then what does it say about the judiciary if the final repository of justice in Kenya is, you know, muddled? You know, 2 people are going against the Constitution. You preside over this bench. You know, all sorts of arguments. We talk about impunity in Kenya, and it would seem that instead of being above reproach...
Don't go there. Wait until the decision is
Don't
given.
go where? But shouldn't you have a bench
no,
that's above reproach?
You are headed, you know, into a very
whatever
dangerous...
the judgment is, the fact that you have 2 people who say that, you know...
Because they have the right to say so. You know, as citizens, you know, if judges go to court and say their rights are violated, surely their colleagues, difficult as it is, have to hear those arguments, and that's something you can't deny them. All right.
Yeah.
But if you go into the issues or you know, issues outside law, you know, because from what I can hear of you, you're going beyond law.
In what sense?
No, I think it's an issue where you have the right to look into the morals of it, you know, the politics of it, and yeah, and that's fine. But you know, when it's the constitutional issue, right? Everybody, and that's what the Constitution guarantees you. If you are grieved and you actually think that your rights are violated or even threatened, you can just go to court and
you said something important there, which brought the JSC into the center of this thing, that it had to decide because of the opinions, legal opinions sought and received. Of course, that issue is whether, if I may present the case, is whether judges hired under the old constitution should retire under the terms of the new constitution. As far as I can tell, the old constitution said 74, the new one says 70. Is that a matter for the JSC to decide? Was it called upon to decide?
It's under the constitution. Commissions can interpret the constitution. That is their mandate. If you look at the JSC and the Article 172, it has a constitutional mandate. And if you go to Chapter 15, the constitution, the commissions have that mandate. They have to decide, and sometimes they even seek the opinion of the Attorney General, and they disagree with it. But ultimately, once they decide, they are open to suits. We fire people, they sue us. We interview people, they say we should be transparent, we should show out the marks and whatnot, and we do, because that's what Article 10 of the Constitution says. You've got to be transparent, you have to be accountable. You cannot make decisions and then think that they can't be challenged. So when JSC makes a decision of any sort, it knows very well that it will be challenged and people might go to court. We've been sued left, right, and center.
Sticking with that JSC, about its composition, as the head of that JSC, there's been allegations that there is interference with the composition of that JSC to manipulate its membership so that it can, in fact, influence the appointments of the judiciary. Kobia, let me be precise. Kobia was a member of the commission, was recalled from that commission before the expiry of his term.
Recalled by who?
Was deployed elsewhere, so had to vacate before the expiry of his term of service on the commission.
I think any commission can leave at any point, right? Any commissioner can leave if they are offered something else. They can leave. Do you have evidence that he was forced to leave?
Well, haven't you heard of the circumstances in which he left?
No, I haven't, because this country is a channel of, is an English channel of gossip, so I don't listen to gossip.
So that is to assure the country that the JSC is properly constituted. It has no external forces operating it to influence the proceedings in the judiciary.
I think that's a fair question, and I can answer that. I cannot tell Kenyans that the JSC is not subject to external forces. Every commission, every office in this country has to deal with those forces, and they are various. So, but as far as I know now, as the chair of the Judicial Service Commission, I have no evidence of that pressure. But you hear it. Let me give you an example. Over the weekend, there were elections in the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association at Panari. I didn't go there myself, but the allegations have already come to the office of the CJ that the elections were corrupt. There was people out there bribing, trying to influence the outcome, and that was also repeated when Ojienda and Abdullahi Ahmed Nasir had their own election some time back. So you get those allegations, but
people can actually report them and they give us the evidence is very, very, very difficult. But what they are saying about that election is exactly what we are saying. They are trying to get somebody who they can manipulate.
When you say they means who?
They are what David called external forces. He called them external forces, and as Kenyans we know that in terms of political forces, for example, what is happening in the judiciary is that there's going to be a transition in terms of the office of the CJ, maybe two positions in the Supreme Court. All right, there are still judges to be, appointed. So that kind of transition, I think it would be very naive to think that political forces are not interested in
the outcome.
In the outcome, definitely they must be.
Okay, give us your opinion, sir, on this. The Supreme Court is the custodian of the Constitution.
All the courts are.
All the courts are. But
yeah, we just happen to be the apex. Yeah.
Yes, the apex of it. Yeah. We've been talking about this, on Cheche. The validity of the recent cabinet nominations, right, which don't meet the 2/3 gender threshold. What's your opinion on that? Can you tell us? Is it valid? Is it not valid?
Your questions are always tricky for me, because I don't know as we talk now whether somebody hasn't gone to court to basically.
I think civil society is attempting to petition.
And once they go to court, if you ask the Chief Justice to,
but they're not in court yet.
They might be. They could come to court, and I have to look at the possibility that the matter might end up in the Supreme Court, and the perception will be.
You have already made a ruling.
Yes, I've made a ruling, and they will basically say, I should disqualify myself. This has happened all the time. So when matters are in court, or they might be in court, I always decline, because I know
to stretch your memory a little on the same matter of percentages and and compliance with the 2/3 requirement in the Constitution. You made a ruling before about that matter with regard to to Parliament, and given them an extended period up to August this year, by which that progressive realization should have been achieved.
That was the majority. You remember?
Yes,
I dissented.
You dissented.
Yeah, because my view was, 1/3 is the minimum.
Yeah.
And that's what women should have.
Yeah.
And then progressively we move towards 50, which should be the ideal parity. But the majority said it's progressive, and basically that's what now is being discussed, as how to comply with that. Yeah. With that ruling.
Was the principle institutional that every appointment or batch of appointments ought to comply with that principle? Or, as has been argued, in the case of the current composition, if these appointments sail through, the threshold would not have been met? Does it therefore mean it can actually be regarded to be properly constitutionally constituted as cabinet?
I think that's a legal debate that has to happen. Remember, in 2011 there were quite a number of cases about that issue, involving even the composition of the Supreme Court, which doesn't have the 1/3. But if I remember correctly, the judges who are hearing those matters in the High Court looked at the institution itself, not just the single courts.
Yeah.
Looked at the institution, and that's how they looked at the 1/3. And they were able to basically say, when you look at the institution, which is true in the case of judiciary, the Court of Appeal, I think, is 8%. The magistracy is 48. I think the High Court is over 40. So when you look at the institution collectively, you've complied with it. But there's still a debate there, I know, of some people arguing, no, you don't look at the institution.
Okay, so to be clear, you're not going to give us an opinion on
the cabinet.
On the cabinet,
no.
Cabinet secretaries and PSs, because it might come to court. But on the news last night, we heard that some of these nominees were already presiding over events substantively, even though they hadn't gone through the vetting process. Can you give us an opinion on that? Does that violate any legal principle?
That's a Kenyan culture I've seen. I know, for example, the CEO of Teacher Service Commission. Before I saw her in, she was already on some benchmarking tour. So that's an example I have. Right. So when people get appointed, you know, they probably do this, and in that particular case, if the law is clear that Parliament has to vet and so forth,
they're warming up.
You know,
they're warming up.
Just a minute. Please finish the thought.
What?
Finish the thought. The law is clear. Carry on.
Well, the law is as clear as you stated. So why do you want me to?
Okay, well, because you are the Chief Justice, and you are the President of the Supreme Court, and so the bigger question becomes.
Article 10 of the Constitution allows you to interpret the Constitution.
Right.
As a citizen, and what I'm saying is that you don't get me into a situation where I pronounce myself on an issue that potentially...
But CJ, you're not sitting on the bench. Here you can pronounce things. You're not wearing your gown.
Somebody has been appointed. Somebody has not been vetted. In fact, they have not been nominated.
This is part of the Supreme Court here. This area. You know, so that's the reality of it.
This is civic education.
No, it's not civic.
So the bigger question becomes, in terms of the Constitution, do we have to wait for you? Do we have to petition you for an opinion? Or if you see something going awry, can you say, oh, you know, Kenyans, you know, I think we should be going this way and not that way? Because what you're telling us here is that you cannot offer guidance. You have to wait for a petition to come to you.
No. That's
no?
If you were discussing something that is contextual, I mean, that is not contextual. Because that's what I'm saying. He's talking about civic education, you know, and
hence the question.
But you're asking a question where I'm saying, you know, there is a potential dispute, and it's already there. It's in the papers. It's Mutegia is saying is wrong.
Yes.
You know,
to me, it's wrong.
So it's there.
As a non-monarchy, if somebody has been appointed, nominated, not vetted, they don't even have letters of appointment.
Yeah,
they have not been gone through Parliament. How then do you go and do whatever you're calling benchmarking?
Yeah, but if I agree with you, that cabinet secretary is basically going to say, well, you know, my case was decided in the Citizen Studios. This is what the Chief Justice said, and the judges listened to the Chief Justice, so my case, my rights are being violated. Okay. And she will be saying that
actually, it's not just
a threat.
It's not just the she.
There's
several others.
There is the she's and he's.
I see.
Yeah.
So let them have their, you know, because it's very, very difficult. What I'm saying is, I hear you what you guys are saying, very, 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 very clearly. But there is the personal and there is institutional, and that's what I'm saying. Even yourself, you wouldn't want a matter that affects your rights to be discussed by a judge. The judge makes a finding, whether right or wrong. Okay, but if it was, if you are not dealing with a live, because this dispute is live.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's in the public opinion. People are debating it. and once it ends up there, I've just have to be
okay.
careful.
So we've got to take a break now.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll come to matters of access to justice.
Okay.
This is Cheche. We are talking to Dr. Willie Mutunga, the Chief Justice. He leaves office a year early next June. What's your assessment of his performance? Has he presided over an improved judiciary? What should he focus on before he retires? Let us know. Our SMS number is 22422, or you can tweet us using the hashtag